6.5 Nato versus 6.5 Creedmoor. I can already tell you clicked on this video thinking, what is this guy talking about? There's no such thing as 6.5 Nato. Well, that's partially true. 6.5 Creedmoor is a Nato caliber now. It's been adopted and there are Nato loads. One of those loads you'll find running in rifles like this Geissele mrgg, and that's going to be the M1200 load. And this M1200 is going to feature a 140 Berger hybrid bullet. So it's going to be a long-range precision round. And with that, as you start to see word of the M1200 load showing up, you're going to see clone loads on the civilian market. And certainly when clone loads show up, you always wonder, how does the clone load perform versus the real deal military M1200? Real deal M1200 is basically impossible to find. However, recently I found myself with access to a little bit of legit military M1200, or as you can see on this ammo can, AC58, which would be a military designation for this exact same load. I've got enough of these here that I can run through my Geissele Mrgg-s to give you an idea of how that military load performs out to distance. And then we're going to answer the question of, how do several civilian clone loads match up? So if you're curious what military 6.5 Creedmoor precision ammo looks like out to distance and how its civilian counterparts stack up, stick around. This video is for you. So what's my plan in the video? Well, we're going to shoot at the 100-yard line. I'm going to run the military M1200 10-round group at 100 yards, show you what it's capable of for accuracy and velocity performance, and we're going to do the same thing with each of the clone loads. Then we're going to push out on cardboard at 1,018 yards and repeat the course of fire. So you're going to see drop out to distance, and you're going to see groups on paper of how each of these four loads perform at 1,018 yards. So by the end of this video, you're going to have a look at maybe which one of these civilian clone loads might be the best for you. So with that, let's dive into the gear details and what we're going to be testing in this video. First up, let's talk ammo. So as I mentioned, the actual military M1200 comes in this ammo can. It's loose packed inside the ammo can, so the ammo is just sloshing around. It's pretty beat up, but it's the way I found it. Now inside the ammo can, you'll notice a label here, and this label is actually labeled 6.5 Creedmoor 140 grain XM1200, and then it provides a chart here for velocity and temperature to kind of give you an idea of how temp stable the powder is. And then like I say, ammo is just loose in this ammo can. I have no clue if that's how it comes from the factory, but that's how it came to me. This ammo is loaded by Black Hills, and the interesting thing here on the military M1200 load, it's in BLH brass. It has a staked primer, and then it has sealant around the primer. And as you can see, that 140 Berger hybrid. So that's the real deal. Now the next load I ran across, and what really inspired this video actually, is what's on the market right now, labeled as M1200C. So that's going to be M1200 civilian ammunition. It's packaged by Black Hills, and as you can see, it's sold in this ammo can here. This is a 240 round ammo can, and it's priced something like $600 per 240 rounds. So it's about $2.60 per round. So it's pretty steep. But it comes in the ammo can, and inside the ammo can, you're going to have brown cardboard boxes labeled 6.5 Creedmoor M1200C with a lot number. And then inside of the cardboard is a plastic spacer with 20 rounds. Now the interesting thing about the M1200C, this is not legit M1200. It's not the exact same thing. There actually are some differences here. The first thing I notice, there is no sealant around the primer in the M1200C load. And this load, confirmed by Black Hills through some online posts, runs the Hornady Aero Match bullet, 140 grain, and it is a clone of the Berger bullet, but it is not truly a Berger 140 hybrid. So I'm curious to see, how does that Aero Match actually perform versus the real deal 140 hybrid? Well, we're going to find out in this video. Really quick, I want to shout out Rooftop Defense. That's where I purchased this M1200C ammunition, and they actually gave my viewers a coupon code, which is mullets, and that'll save you 8% off of qualified purchases. So if you find yourself in the market for some M1200C or other premium products, check out Rooftop Defense, as I appreciate them allowing me to do business and provide you a code. The next load I'm going to run is sent to me by Phantom Defense. So Phantom Defense, they build all kinds of sweet ammunition. They came to me and said, hey, we've got this really cool M1200 load. We'd love for you to try it and give us some feedback. So obviously I love gas guns. They're getting in the gas gun game. I said, send it out and let's run it through its paces. So this Phantom Defense ammunition, it's about $50 per 20 rounds. So it's a little bit cheaper than the M1200C. As far as I know, it runs a true Berger hybrid bullet. But this one is going to come to you in Starline brass. It is a 140 hybrid, and it's packaged neatly in these 20-round containers. So from what I can tell, packaging very, very nice here from Phantom Defense. Thank you to them for sending the ammo out to the channel. And then the final load that I want to compare to is going to be the Berger 140 hybrid factory load. So this would be Berger's version, or maybe Berger's civilian version of something like M1200. So the 140 hybrid bullet. This ammo actually comes in Lapua brass, so it's very, very premium brass. And it's priced, I think, about $46 to $47 per 20 rounds. So very similar actually to what Phantom Defense is offering. So once I got out to the 1,000-yard line and fired all 4 groups with the 140s, I decided to go ahead and throw in my 144 SMK hand load. That's the load I've run almost exclusively through this rifle, and I was really curious to see how my hand loads perform on cardboard at 1,018 yards. So you will see a 5th 10-round group at 1,018, and that's my 144 SMK hand load. Shout out to Sierra for their support of my channel. It's in Peterson brass. It's over H4350 powder. I can't wait to show you what she's capable of. So that'll be a 5th load at the 1,018-yard line. Rifle I want to use for this test is going to be my Geissele factory Mrgg. This is a 6.5 Creedmoor rifle with 20-inch chrome line barrel. This is the rifle that won SOCOM's Mrgg-s, and S being sniper contract. This is a sweet rifle. It is a very expensive rifle, but I tell you what, it is an absolute shooter. Right now, as of time of filming, I have about 1,000 rounds down the barrel, and what you're going to see here on video is how she performs with 4 of these different 140 Berger hybrid target loads. Out front, it's going to have the Fletcher Rifle Works Texas Flood suppressor. This is a titanium 30 caliber suppressor. It is flow through. And on the front right now, you can see it's featuring the Recoil X suppressor brake. This is a prototype, but he is working on bringing a production brake for the Texas Flood as well as the OCL Infinity suppressor. And I tell you what, that brake actually is amazing on a flow-through can. It really knocks down some of the recoil, makes this an extremely smooth shooting rifle, and I saw that in the footage that I filmed at Hat Creek. On the topic of suppressors, I want to give a shout out to what's becoming a longtime supporter of my channel in Silencer Shop. So Silencer Shop is who I work with for all of my NFA transfers. They make the process so simple. They allow you to build your profile online, and once everything is saved, you can remotely file your paperwork for your NFA transfers. So maybe you're out of town for business, maybe you're busy and can't hit the gun store to put that paperwork in. That Silencer Shop online profile makes the process so simple. The other thing really cool that Silencer Shop is doing, they're actually fighting for our rights. So you know January 1st, the $200 tax stamp goes away. With that, it challenges what is the validity of the NFA. Well, Silencer Shop has taken that battle to the court system. So if you're looking to get into the NFA world, there's no better time than now to do it, and there's no one better to work with for Silencer Shop. They make the process simple, and they're fighting for our rights. Thank you to Silencer Shop for their support. On top, the rifle is going to feature the Element Theos 6 to 36 mil rifle scope. So this one was sent to me by Utah Air Guns. I appreciate their support. This is a very premium optic. It has a floating center dot. It's going to make it very easy to shoot those tight groups. So 36 power is going to allow me to mag up at 100 yards and really drive in and shoot some tiny groups. And then the reticle in this thing has 2/10 hashes. It tracks very well. So when we stretch out to 1,018 yards, we're going to have the glass to get it done. And it's sitting in a Badger Ordnance mount. So that's going to be the rifle that we run. I will take some footage through my Scope Mate camera to give you a view of what I'm seeing downrange. With that, let's move in to the shooting portion. So the flow for the video, I'm going to be at the 100-yard line. I'm going to chat through performance at 100 yards with each of the loads. Then I'm going to show you performance at 1,018, and then we'll close out the video with commentary around my experience running each of these loads and maybe where I see each of these making sense. Well, let's jump right into the performance. So here's the cardboard that I shot at the 100-yard line. Now when I got out here this morning, the bore was clean, so off camera on some separate paper, I fired a handful of rounds to check zero and get the bore fouled. When I was happy with that, I loaded up 10 rounds of M1200 and fired here on the center dot. What you can see out of these 10 rounds is a group that measures 0.94 MOA. And I tell you what, if you look at it, 9 of these rounds are probably 3/4 MOA or less, and that 10th round popped out of the group. Maybe it was me, don't know, but 0.94 MOA. And what I saw for velocity was an average of 26.72, extreme spread of 38 with an SD of 10.2. And in my opinion, that's very respectable for long-range shooting. So that's a look at what she did there at the 100-yard line. Now let's pop over to the 1,018 line and give you a close-up look at what 10 rounds look like there. Let's fire our first rounds at distance. So right now I've loaded up with the military M1200 ammo, and I've updated AB quantum with a velocity of 2670 feet per second using a custom curve that calls for 8.9 mils of elevation, which I've dialed onto my scope. Now downrange, I'm actually 1018. On the left, I have a 10-inch circle. I'm gonna fire 3 cider rounds at the 10-inch circle to confirm my elevation and windage. And then I'm gonna swap over and fire 10 rounds on cardboard to see what a group looks like at distance. Now wind is coming from about the 4 to 5 o'clock. It seems like maybe 4 to 5 miles an hour. So I'm actually just gonna hold straight up with the first round and see what the wind does with my spin. So here we go. As possible. Yeah, you can definitely see the Mirage pushing. So here we go, just straight up on the 10-inch circle. Wind flag looks to be pushing straight back, so here we go, straight up. Okay, so just off that right edge. I'm going to come left 0.4. Okay, left 0.5. Okay, so I'm going to fire my group left 0.5. Here we go, left 0.5 on the black circle. All right, that was pretty cool. Now let's take a look at the velocity performance out of those rounds that I just fired. 13 rounds of M1200. Average speed of 2666, extreme spread of 50.6, SD of 15.2. But I tell you what, a group size there of 1.32 MOA. So velocity-wise, average looks to be very much the same between the two. The extreme spread and the SD did open up. And what you saw in that group was a little bit of vertical spread there, but 1.3 MOA at 1,018 yards, when you think about a practical target, that's going to get the job done. The final piece to note, I had to dial up 8.9 mils to get out there. So we'll remember that number as we work through this. So after picking up my brass, loading my mag, waiting a couple minutes, I fired 10 rounds of the M1200C load here on the bottom right-hand dot. What you can see out of these 10 rounds is a group that measures 0.86 MOA. So the clone load or civilian load is a little bit tighter actually than the legit M1200. Sub MOA for 10 rounds is really good. Average speed of 2676, extreme spread of 35, and an SD of an 11.6. So when you look at the velocity performance versus the actual M1200, it's very much similar, almost identical speed with a little bit better extreme spread. Now let's bump over and take a look at how this performs on paper at 1,018. It's running the Hornady Aero Match bullet, which is supposed to be a clone of that Berger 140. So with that, it was also running the exact same speed at 2670. I'm going to leave the same 8.9 mils dialed on, and we're going to start out holding that same left, maybe 0.4. Actually, let's just send it straight up and see where it goes here. 10-inch plate. Okay, so right there at it. Yeah, right there. All right, so I'm just gonna go straight up on the black dot. We're not gonna hold any wind. Little Mirage out there. All right, pretty solid performance out of the M1200C. Velocity-wise, 2676 was the average of those 13 rounds. Extreme spread of 37, SD of 11.7. Now when you look at the velocity, it's almost identical performance actually. Same speed, extreme spread and SDs are almost identical. Pretty good actually. And that reflected in the group, a little bit less vertical spread, so my total group size there is 1.26 MOA. Really good in my opinion. And the cool thing is that Hornady arrow match bullet also required 8.9 mils of elevation. So I would say it's a perfect clone of that Berger 140. Next up, we fired the Phantom Defense M1200 load at the 100-yard line. Again, waited a couple minutes to let things cool down. I fired those 10 rounds on the bottom left dot. And I tell you what, look at this group. So these 10 rounds from Phantom Defense went into a group that measured 0.73 MOA, so sub 3/4 MOA for a 10-round group out of a gas gun. Average speed of 2690, running a little bit faster than the actual M1200 loads. Extreme spread of 23 and an SD of 6.3. So that is flat out nuts performance. Looking really good at the 100-yard line. Now let's see how this performs at 1018. Now it's running a little bit faster at 2590 feet per second. So I updated AB Quantum, which is calling for 8.7 mils of elevation, which I'll dial on. Wind feels extremely calm. So we'll just start with that same straight up hold with our 3-siders. Wind flag's pushing a bit back and left, so maybe with spin we'll be about right. Here we go. Just off that right edge. Impact. Just over it. But for this, I'm just going to run straight up on the dot. We're not going to hold any wind. It'll be on the cardboard. Well, I tell you what, at 1018, the Phantom Defense performed just as good as it did at the 100-yard line. So average speed, 2696, extreme spread of 27.9, SD of 7.9. Again, this is on 13 rounds, and a group size of 1.1 MOA. So when you look at how tight that extreme spread and SD is, that limited my vertical spread and gave me the tightest group of the day at 1.1 MOA. So really, really good performance. The Phantom Defense is running a little bit faster, so it only took 8.7 mils of elevation to get on target. The next load we fired was the Berger 140 kind of civilian load. 10 rounds at the 100-yard line gave me the tightest group of the day at 0.70 MOA. So really, really good performance for accuracy at 100 yards. Average velocity, 2506, so quite a bit slower than the actual maybe NATO spec stuff. Extreme spread of 14 and SD of 4.8, which is amazingly good actually. Then we transition out and we shoot that same load at 1018. I don't have as many of these, so I'm just gonna fire 2 cider rounds using the M1200C. That'll give me a wind call. For my elevation, these were running slower at about 2605 feet per second. I updated AB Quantum, which calls for 9.4 mils of elevation, which I'm gonna dial on. I'm gonna trust that that data works. It's been working on everything else. So let's fire the 2 M1200s for wind. At the 10-inch plate. Okay, landed high. Landed high, but windage-wise, it seemed to be about dead on. With that, I'm just gonna hold straight up on the circle, no wind. So the Berger load at 1018 had a little bit of trouble, and it comes down to the velocity. So what we saw for velocity performance there was an average of 26.14, so it sped up a little bit warmer in the day. Extreme spread of 52.6 across the 13 rounds. And I tell you what, this spread happened within the 10 rounds that happened on camera. You saw that in the high and low. SD of 13.8. And that led to a group that was 2.71 MOA. A lot of vertical spread there. Really can't do anything about it. Wind was very calm. The largest group of the day came from the Berger load. The Berger load was also running quite a bit slower, so it took 9.4 mils of elevation to get out to distance. And then the final load I want to mention, I fired it at the 100-yard line, but only a 5-round group. It came in at something like 0.6 MOA, and that was my 144 SMK hand load. I then pushed it out and fired 10 rounds on cardboard at 1018. I'll give you a look here. So let's just run them out there at 1018 and see how they run. They're calling for 9.5 mils of elevation. I don't have enough for a sighter, so we're just going to trust the data and that the wind conditions haven't changed all that much. So dialed up 9.5. Here we go, straight up on the circle. And you can see those 10 rounds performed very well. That 144 SMK load, average of 26.72, so maybe a little bit warm for that bullet. Extreme spread of 28.7, pretty good. SD of 7.5, and that solid velocity number led to a group size of 1.22 MOA. Now you can see in that group the wind had picked up. I held center and it pushed that group off to the left, but still a nice round group at 1.22 MOA. As you can see across the board, all of my groups started out sub MOA, but at 1018, they opened up. Wind or velocity, those are the culprits. But really, I would say probably average here, with the exception of the Berger, probably 1.2 MOA. That's pretty solid for a gas gun. And this one, a little bit lower BC, but that high velocity took 9.3 mils of elevation to get out there to 1018. So while it's not a true M1200 clone, it is a very capable load out of the gas gun. It's been a great shooter. Really, really like that 144 SMK. So with that, now let's move into my thoughts and wrap up. Well, there it is. A ton of rounds fired on paper and cardboard. And I tell you what, as a shooter, that is a lot of pressure. I feel like every round is being measured exactly, and it is on paper. So you let me know in the comments down below, what did you think about the performance of each of those loads? Or what did you think about the performance of the Geissele Mrgg? I tell you what, this Mrgg is an absolute laser. So throughout the video, we fired 40 rounds at the 100-yard line, all of them sub MOA. 4 10-round groups under 1 MOA. That is nuts for a chrome line gas gun. So first off, very impressed performance of this Geissele Mrgg. Understand this is an extremely expensive rifle, but I tell you what, I believe the performance is there to back it up. Let me know if you want to see maybe a longer term review of this rifle now that I got some rounds down range. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Now when it comes to performance of the ammo, so the military M1200, I tell you what, is capable of getting the job done. You think about what this ammo is intended to do, the performance you saw at a 100-yard line, sub MOA, average velocity of about 2670, extreme spread of about 38 or so. We stretched that out to 1018 yards. We put down a 1.3 to 1.4 MOA group. And if you look at the size of that group, that would get its job done. So it looks like, to me, M1200 performing very well out of the Mrgg. Bump over to the M1200C, or the civilian clone load of M1200 that's on the market right now. Again, this is pretty pricey, $600 for 240 rounds. Well, in my opinion, if you're looking for a clone load, this does it. You saw velocities identical, right at 2670, 2675 out of the C version as well as the true M1200. Groups actually a little bit tighter, something I think like 0.89 or 0.9 MOA, so sub MOA. It is running a different bullet, that Hornady Aero Match. But what I saw downrange was the exact same drop. So bullets out of the muzzle, same speed, drop downrange, the exact same, tells me this 140 arrow match truly is a clone of that Berger 140. So is this true M1200? No. Actually, in my opinion, it performed a little bit better. We had tighter 100-yard groups and tighter groups, as well as ES at 1018. So a smaller extreme spread led to a tighter group. So in reality, this might actually be a better performer than M1200. Now, is it worth the price? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe there's better options. Next up, let's talk about the Phantom Defense M1200 load. I tell you what, in my opinion, this was star of the show. The performance spoke for itself. So at the 100-yard line, 10 rounds, 0.7 MOA, so extremely accurate. But what got me was the velocity, running an average of 2690, so a little bit faster than either of the M1200 loads, but extreme spreads less than 30 at the 100-yard line and the 1,000-yard line. So across 23 rounds, we had an extreme spread of less than 30. And that reflected in the group at 1018, 1.1 MOA for 10 rounds at 1,018 yards. I'm very, very impressed. This stuff right here, I would say at $50 per 20 rounds is very much a solid buy. Now understand, yes, this was sent to me, but if you just purely look at the performance of the round, I would say this was top performer out there today. The next load dimension will be the Berger 140 load. Now this is priced similar to the Phantom Defense at about $46 to $47 per 20 rounds. And what we saw at the 100-yard line actually was the tightest 10-round group at about 0.7 MOA. Running a little bit slower, 6.5 Creedmoor pressure versus maybe Nato pressure, 2605 feet per second. At 100 yards, we saw an extreme spread of like 15 and an SD of 4.8. So it was looking very, very good. When I pushed this out to 1018 though, we saw a pretty major change in performance. Across those 10 rounds, we saw an extreme spread of like 52 and an SD of maybe 14 to 15. And unfortunately, that reflected in the group at 1018. It was pretty large at 2.7 MOA. A lot of vertical spread there as a result of the extreme spread in that group. So at $46 to $47 a round, or per box of 20, comes in Lapua brass, which is nice. It has the Berger bullet in it, but I tell you what, especially at 1018, to me, maybe this was the least impressive performer that we saw out there today. You gotta let me know your thoughts. Which loads were you most impressed with? Which loads have you tried, or maybe do you want to try? Are there other loads that you want to see me test? I tell you what, it's actually crazy fun to shoot paper at 1,000 yards. It really kind of measures what your system is capable of. There's no hiding when you're on paper. So if you like this kind of content, do me a solid and help me grow this channel. It's super simple. Like this video, comment down below to let me know what you thought about the video or what you want to see me do in the future. Most impactful is subscribe. That tells me you want to see more content just like this, and it signals to the industry that you value my content. So thanks for watching. Hope you'll join me in my next video.